to talk something that's also maybe a little bit outside of our wheelhouse here, Kevin, and that's Ulta Beauty.
Hey guys, right. Maybe outside of y'all's wheelhouse, but very much within my wheelhouse. So I always love talking about Ulta with you guys. And it's one of those names where you can't bring up Ulta without bringing up one of its other major competitors in the space, and that's Sephora. And I think that we've definitely seen that over the past few months, the beauty industry sales have definitely declined as consumer habits are changing. But I think largely that's expected to pick back up with more people returning back to work and returning back to their, pre-COVID normal lifestyle. But with that being said, I want to go ahead and introduce the first tweet that I found for you guys today. And this Twitter user asked or said, "I used to wear makeup every day. How?" So this was a very common sentiment that I was seeing on social media. People asking about if other people are also not touching their makeup over the entire, 3-4 months that they're work from home or not at school anymore. People are wearing masks over their face that would otherwise, mess up their concealer or their foundation on their face. There's a lot of different factors going into this right now. But like I said, those consumer habits are, I think, expected to turn around, maybe also back in the fall or winter when it gets a little bit cooler outside. But something else that's going on with Ulta right now is that push to e-commerce. Ulta and Sephora both, offer all of their products online. But makeup is one of those things that people don't seem to be as keen on versus buying in store. There's something that I'm seeing on Twitter, especially, that people love going in and having that experience of talking to one of the educated sales attendants who really know all about the product, be it skincare, makeup, hair products, what have you. Ulta also has that salon in a lot of their stores as well. But I want to go ahead and bring up this next tweet that I found. And this is a question from a Twitter user, Unicorn Gang, that asked Twitter users if they had $1,000 to spend but can only choose Sephora or Ulta, which would you pick and why? So there were more than 200 responses to this tweet that was posted at the beginning of August of this year. And while a lot of them did respond with Ulta, it was for a myriad of reasons. I mean, whether it was based on people's locations and what was more convenient, or more specifically about what Ulta offered over Sephora. And one thing that I saw reappearing was how Ulta handled their rewards services, their rewards programs, versus how Sephora does it. That was really popular with Ulta. But then also Ulta is known for carrying those less expensive brands than Sephora, which does reach a wider consumer base than Sephora. They offer drugstore priced items as well as some luxury brands. So really, Ulta is able to reach a wider audience than Sephora is. And that's really what I'm seeing on social media today. Guys?
Yeah, no, I think it's a very interesting one, especially, Evelyn, your point regarding, maybe an unwillingness to buy some of these products in an e-commerce space. You wonder if there's maybe a void for some of these companies to do maybe online appointments. A lot of things to consider here, but sounds like they're bringing value to going into the stores, which is something that we're seeing diminish on a daily basis. But hey, Evelyn, always a pleasure. Great information as always as well. Evelyn Baker, TD Ameritrade Network contributors. We say goodbye to Evelyn. We want to welcome in Landon Swan, the co-founder of LikeFolio.com. And Landon, when it comes to something like Ulta, when it comes to a strong brand, especially as Evelyn talks about a ton of chatter around this company on social media, it's the perfect time to bring you guys in and ask you, how's the data?
Right. Yeah, it is. It's pretty interesting. Obviously heavily impacted by the quarantine. As Evelyn points out, people aren't needing makeup as much if you're all virtual and you're not going out as much, and if you're wearing a mask. But what's interesting is Ulta's had a big push to get more into digital, which is really important. Before the pandemic, about 20% of their revenue was digital. I think that analysts are really going to be looking at how much has that grown. But on this chart, you can see the green line is the 30-day moving average of purchase intent. And that's people talking about either going into a store or buying online. You can see a massive hit right around the March and April when the quarantine started happening, and it hasn't recovered yet. It's down really a significant amount. We've got the purchase intent down about 15%. Quarter over quarter or year over year. But we've got that digital purchase intent up 27%. So I think that could be the number that analysts are focusing on. When you look at it on a just total revenue, though, we're anticipating them not being able to meet analysts' expectations on this call. But again, it really comes down to that future growth. How is digital looking? One thing that's definitely helping them, though, is their focus more on skincare versus makeup. Makeup still is about half of their revenue, but skincare is growing. I think it's about a quarter right now, 25%, and it's growing very quickly. It is the sort of the trend where you want to take care of your skin instead of covering up its flaws. So get rid of the flaws instead of covering them up like makeup would do. And so that is a trend that's definitely helping Ulta quite a bit. We talked about Sephora. Evelyn did. I mentioned the purchase intent for Ulta was down about 15%. Sephora's down about 50%. They have a much heavier focus on makeup instead of skincare. And so I think that is going to help Ulta in the long term, as is their push towards digital. But right now, I just don't think they're there yet. So it depends on, in my opinion, the analyst reaction is going to depend on, are they looking at revenue numbers right now? If so, they're going to be disappointed. Or are they looking at the direction of the company? If so, I think they'll like it. So is it a now or later kind of situation?
Yeah, today, a day like this is always a landmark day on Fast Market as three dudes just sit around and talk about makeup, right? I mean, when are we're doing our best work when we're sitting around talking about makeup. But Landon, when I look at your data, I'm seeing a lot of the opposite of a lot of this data that you've been bringing us over the last few months. And that is, what's the opposite of sticky? Because it looks like their purchase intents are settling down at much lower levels than it was pre-COVID. Obviously, you've been reporting many times that companies had a spike from COVID, but are settling down at, after the spike, they're settling down at higher levels. This company is settling down at considerably lower levels. Am I reading that correctly?
No, I think you're absolutely reading it correctly. And I think the problem is, like I said, about 80% of their sales were coming from in-store sales, and a lot of the stores shut down for quite a while. They have reopened, but that is a behavior change that people haven't made. They haven't just switched all to digital. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, I talked to some of the women in our office just to get a little insight. You go into these stores because you want help. You're not sure which color, which shade works with you. You try it on, you talk to the employee, they help you find the right thing for you. That's something that right now a website just can't do. And so if that's your behavior change, then only 20% of sales are coming from the website, and your stores are closed and you're not really sure about going in. You don't need to because your social life has basically been canceled. It's just a bad time right now for Ulta as far as revenue. And then maybe it turns around over the next few months, but right now, definitely settling in at a lower point. Yes, Kevin, I agree.
Landon, two-part question. I know you love those as well, so I'll try to keep it concise here for you. But it sounds like a lot of these things are COVID impacted, so less people going out, less makeup being used. Makeup not being something as simple just to look at it online. You typically need to go into the store. We know less of that is happening right now. But these are seen as kind of shorter term, impacts, I would guess. So in the long term, those could actually be tailwinds, assuming things get back together. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say so. So again, I think the biggest thing that's in their favor is their push towards skincare, which, we track not only purchase intent at brands and company levels, but we also track trends on the consumer level. What are people more interested in? Where's the behavior shifting? And we're seeing a big rise in skincare versus makeup. About plus 70% year over year for skincare, just as a trend, whereas makeup is flat. And so people, again, they're more interested in fixing their skin rather than hiding those flaws with makeup. And so that's big for Ulta. Another one that's kind of interesting, I know last time I was on, I think I mentioned her name 10 times, but I have to say Kylie Jenner does have an effect. What's interesting is now she's got her own website. So she still has the in-store presence at Ulta, but she also is offering her own products on her own website, and we're watching her as far as her influential ability, and it's waning quite a bit. So She's not nearly the same effect that she was about a year ago, and she split off and she's got her own website, pushing her own cosmetics. So I think that is a little bit of a headwind for Ulta. But overall, skincare is going to be big for them, as is digital. But they've got to find a way to overcome that, the ability to go into the store and try on different shades and hear the expert tell them about what works with their skin tone, et cetera. That's going to be tough for them, but they are at least trying to make the push to digital.
Yeah. Real quick, Landon, the last part of the question, then I promised you a second part, and you almost like you read my mind here. Is this still a space where the consumer is more likely to go to an Ulta or Sephora's website than these brands directly? From what you can tell, is there still this desire to go to the place that sells all the different brands than just finding a particular brand's website, or in your case, what you're talking about here in Kylie Jenner's direct-to-consumer model?
Right. That's tough. You may be asking the wrong person for that. But I think once you find a brand that you love, you may be more likely to go in and go direct. But I think there is a bit of a discovery element with the stores, which helps them out. But yeah, I think that's a tough question. I don't really have a great answer for you. But again, for me on this earnings call, I don't think they're going to make their number. And it's just going to be coming down to what are analysts listening to? Do they like the digital growth, which we're seeing significant in? Do they like that skincare is moving well forward and that's the direction that they need to go? But revenues are down. So that's my prediction for the quarter, but I don't know how analysts are going to react.